Oh, so there really is no end to the nightmare. Okay. The Noise has been added to Pizza Tower as a playable character, and if we all work together, we might be able to make it through these trying times. I don't think it was a secret that Noise was the developer's favorite character. Each of the other bosses would have been lucky to get a story in the Pizza Tower comic strip. The strip was called Peppino and Noise. His inclusion was less of a what if and more of a when is, and earlier this year, it happened. Now, upon booting up a fresh save, you won't have access to the Noise immediately. Instead, you'll just have Peppino. If you do want to play as the Noise, for whatever reason, you either have to beat the game or beat Peppino 100 times. Hit Peppino 100 times, just that. You don't have to beat the game 100 times to unlock the Noise. No, buddy, that's how you unlock a fucking problem. As for how he plays differently from Peppino, Noise has a long list of differences between both standard gameplay and interaction with stage gimmicks. Instead of running up walls like Peppino can, Noise will instead bounce off of them, which can be comboed together to sort of let you climb, but only for a limited amount of time. After so many bounces, you're done. As a trade-off, though, you don't lose any momentum like you would with Peppino. As soon as you're done bouncing off the wall, you touch ground with the same momentum you started with. You know that split second with Peppino after landing off of a wall run where you weren't at Mach 3 yet? Noise doesn't have that, and the jump off the wall itself is also an attack, in case there's something in your way. The super jump functions totally different. Now, instead of needing a run-up to properly charge, it can be done anywhere and can be controlled to a degree. The slam also works a lot different, in that it doesn't. If Noise just holds down when he's in the air, he'll turn into this tornado that automatically lets him slide under hazards while still defeating enemies that don't have hurt boxes like the Knights do. You may notice, though, it's pretty bad at crushing steel boxes, so instead you have to hold up and press jump while in the air to slam down with a pizza smasher. These changes, along with a general speed difference between Peppino and the Noise, means you have the bones of what you're doing, but the actual meat of gameplay is a whole different cut. Peppino and Noise feel like totally different characters, as they should, but I can't lie to you and say that the learning curve with Noise isn't really steep. Comparing Noise and Peppino, I say Peppino has a much lower skill floor. Even if you have your life in order and don't really care about P ranks and stuff, Peppino's kit is understandable, concise, and easy to get a grasp of by the end of the tutorial. Meanwhile, with Noise, the skill floor is much, much higher. He's floaty, he moves at speeds that Peppino rarely does, and that tutorial doesn't tell you everything you need to know about him. You remember that pizza crusher move I just told you about? Not in the tutorial. You want to know when you do find it out? You would never guess. This level of complexity from the outset left me with one conclusion by the end of World 1. I don't like this. Noise is such a dense wall of complexity when compared to Peppino that the skill floor was practically on the roof. I wasn't having fun playing as the Noise because that level of control where every movement Peppino made was because of my input was gone. In its place, it felt like every few seconds I was bouncing off something as the Noise, like I wasn't sure where I would end up after landing or even what I would do once I got there. It made for a painful experience that took what I loved from the base game and made it something I completely bounced off of by the Peppermint fight. I was a little heartbroken in all honesty. A brand new way to experience an all-time classic, and it's just not fun. This could have been where it ended and what my ultimate opinion on the expansion would have been, but it ultimately ended up somewhere totally different. I realized that trying to control the Noise like he was just a new skin for Peppino was getting me nowhere except back to my desktop. Instead, I had to readjust my expectations and try to account for what does make the Noise different. Since he's faster, I should probably time my jumps earlier so I land on the mark instead of overshooting. I should take the time to learn the intricacies of Noise's moves, like comboing his pizza crusher into air spins to let you fly. It wasn't until I really started reckoning with his bounciness, though, that things started to click. Noise bounces off of walls, very helpful when you need to, very frustrating when you don't. So what if you just don't? Noise's high skill floor is complemented by an even higher skill ceiling. You're gonna have to play like a pro to master the Noise, but once you master him, you've mastered the game. Noise encourages you to be the best player you can be by making his highs so much higher than Peppino's, at the trade-off of making his lows even lower. Peppino is a reliable SUV, while the Noise is a modded-out street racer. Peppino I can rely on and trust for more consistent results, while Noise gives you an even greater sense of accomplishment and fun. Because you didn't crash the car and die. That's why, when it comes down to it, I actually prefer playing as Noise to Peppino. It's a close race. Fine print on a Nat's contract close. But given what you're gonna see, I think you'll understand my reasoning for this choice. But to properly illustrate that reasoning, it's time to venture once more into the belly of the beast, and talk about the levels. Starting with... You know, they say the road to hell is paved with good intent, but it looks a lot more like John blocks to me. Everything you learned in that initial blitz of information from the tutorial is put to the test in John Gutter, along with some knowledge you pick up along the way. How the Super Dash functions, and the different tiers it works on. What collectibles a stage is gonna throw at you, and how best to space out your collection of them. John Gutter is a very solid stage, but one that's kinda hard to critique in regards to the other levels. At its core, this is a level that plays it extremely safe, and has no major gimmicks in either the gameplay or visual design. The track itself is very standard. The enemies are gonna be around for the rest of the game. Secrets might give you some trouble on your first go-around, but once you know where to look, it's a simple affair. Because of how John Gutter works, it feels unfair to judge it by the standards of the levels that come after it. To put it in a phrase, John Gutter is all substance, no style. The level itself functions great, but nobody's gonna put it at the top of their list of favorite levels. Conversely, nobody's gonna say it's one of the worst levels either. See, you have to do things for people to hate you. That's why everybody loves Coral. But as for the Noise, this is one of the few stages that actually does change up presentation based on who's playing it, in the form of the song. Can't say it wasn't a bit of a throw-off that made me think every level was gonna have a noisified song like the title cards, but honestly, it's fine if they're used sparingly. Speaking of those title cards, I think they're just about the most clever way to put in maximum effort and zero effort at the same time. Yeah, we're just gonna slap Noise stickers over the already made artwork, but we're gonna make fucking loads of them. Anyway, back to the song. The Noise's jam-packed radical anthem is more than a fine replacement for John Gutter's original track. That's because it's a lot better than it. Unearthly Blues isn't bad by any means, no sir, but the Noise's mouth-filled jamboree is a killer track, and it being the theme of the first level helps to set up how the Noise is gonna be a whole different beast. As you play the level, it gets a lot more obvious as you feel the gulf in style between Noise and Peppino. John Gutter serves a very important purpose in giving you all the time you need to adjust with a very simple, no-frills stage that will let you get a hold of the technical side of the Noise before letting you loose on the rest of the tower. But what better way to punctuate a performance like this than with a grade? Well, I couldn't just come back and be as good as I was before. No. I had to be better. So for every stage in the game, we're also gonna look at it from the perspective of P-ranking it. That's right, I heard you cackling at the back of the room. He beat the game, but he didn't P-rank it, so it's kinda like he didn't beat it at all. Well, I'm gonna remove all doubt. Every level in the game. That's every level in the game, so Tricky Treat's off the table because it's not in the game anymore. Change my computer's clock to October 31st, and go to jail for time fraud? Well, now hold on, something's different here. Yep, Noise has his own music for both the first and second laps of Pizza Time, those being Distasteful Anchovy and Worldwide Noise. These replace It's Pizza Time and Death I Deserve-ioli, and here comes the hot take. Pizza Time is better than Distasteful Anchovy and Death I Deserve-ioli. But Worldwide Noise is better than all three of them. I was never that big on Death I Deserve-ioli, but overcoming It's Pizza Time is a hurdle and a half. That song fit the frantic nature of the run back after breaking Pillar John so perfectly that saying anything could top it is crazy talk. It's Pizza Time is essentially the theme song of Pizza Tower by this point, and I'm really saying that Worldwide Noise is better than it? Yeah. Worldwide Noise has to be one of, if not the best track in the entire game. I'm not a music guy. I can't describe why I like songs very well. But when I say that Worldwide Noise just works, I mean that both in and out of gameplay, it's a sustained adrenaline rush that keeps building and building, while still being incredibly satisfying to listen to. So many samples are used all throughout it, but never once does it take away from the overall product or drag your attention. And the beat itself is strong enough to support all that help. Klasky Jito can hang their hat on making a song that managed to beat out an absolute classic like Pizza Time. As for the stress of P-ranking John Gutter, dude, what stress? Oh yeah, it's got the same general feeling of do or die that the rest of the game's P-ranks have, but let's not kid ourselves and pretend the level is anything other than a straight line with a few bits of verticality every now and again. Most people P-rank John Gutter as a warm-up, and if you're going for your first P-rank on any level, John Gutter's is as easy as pie. Now, let's not get it twisted. You're still gonna need to practice your butt off to try and clear the level, but if we're talking about the grand scheme of things, this is nothing. John Gutter lands squarely in the middle of the pack of all the levels in the game. It's really the bones that every level is built off of, so if you forget what they're called, you can just call them John Gutter but you're a knight, John Gutter but you play golf, John Gutter but fuck! Now that we're past John Gutter, the real game begins again, and Pizzascape sets the pace for the rest of the game phenomenally. Just from the look and feel of the stage, you can tell that things are heating up fast. Just check the track list. The different songs used throughout the stage and the transition in backgrounds from the outside to the inside of a castle give it a really good sense of rising tension. You go from a more open environment that you can afford to mess around in, to much more narrow, maze-like hallways that really test the Noise in particular, given how his tendency to bounce around is his greatest strength and weakness. This level for the Noise is a great test in turning and managing your jumps, so that you can keep control the entire way through, and it makes the level a lot of fun to learn. As a follow-up to John Gutter, it does a great job giving you a more meaty challenge with way more to manage than the straight-shot hallways that the previous level did. Noise can glide through the level with ease in the right hands. That sense of speed he's allowed to keep up is on full display, as you ricochet all over the place and blow past anything and everything. That does also mean that Noise's increased speed can be deadly with all the sliding in this level. You either need perfect memorization or split-second reaction times to get through. Speaking of things that might get you killed, the Knight power-up. The Noise being worthy is a moral failing of the sword. It might function almost identically to the Peppino version, but that might can also be a might bit annoying. Noise is much faster than Peppino when using the power-up, but instead of slamming into walls stopping you, Noise just bounces right off of them. For the most part, it's not that bad to deal with. The two secret rooms that have you use the Knight power-up, it can be frustrating there if you slip up and go flying off in the opposite direction, but whatever. It's only in this exact room, once you break Pillar John, that you're introduced to how the Noise Knight was in no way made for precise platforming. This being the first thing that you encounter in Pizza Time can be a real pain for P-ranks, since the time is very tight and messing up here feels bad. This level provides the first major P-ranking roadblock. That is to say that it is anything other than a complete gimme and pushes back against the player in the slightest way. They're not gonna all be like this, are they? The Pizzascape P rank really isn't that bad, especially compared to the other P ranks later down the road, but man, it can feel bad when one slippery mistake ruins an entire run. Loose controls are kinda Noise's whole shtick, but for some reason the Knight power-up just doesn't feel as good in this level as when you're playing as Peppino. However, if you can make it past these sections that admittedly don't take up too much of the level, Pizzascape still builds on the foundation of the last level and keeps the anticipation building for whatever could come next. I got nothing. God, if you're listening to me, please, for the love of all things good and that I just remembered God doesn't listen to the noise. Never mind. The previous levels have been a slap in the face. Bloodsauce Dungeon spits in the hand before the wind-up. Things are different now. Verticality is the name of the game with Bloodsauce Dungeon, as that horizontal axis you've been using as a crutch ain't gonna work no more. One of the most difficult parts of Bloodsauce was that platforms don't have solid bottoms, which means that Peppino would run right through them if he was wall running. It took time, but overall it was something you could adjust to and learn from. Noise hasn't learned his own name yet. Do you really think that solid platforms are on his radar? Noise is uniquely tailored to have the worst time possible in Bloodsauce Dungeon. His wall bounce has that slight lack of control that means you're gonna go back up through those platforms whether you wanna or not. If you wanna avoid the problem altogether, then you're gonna have to spam the tornado move as much as you can to avoid ever having to touch the walls altogether. But this, alongside the general speed increase, takes a dense level and makes it airtight. I never thought about how to describe it, but Bloodsauce Dungeon has to have one of the highest input per minute averages in the whole game. You are given no quarter. Every second is filled with a new challenge that you have to perfect to avoid. It's thrilling, but it's hard. Much harder than the Peppino version of the stage, and that was already a huge difficulty spike this early in the game. But none of this, none of it, prepares you for the absolute nightmare that is P-ranking Bloodsauce Dungeon. The sign out front ain't for show. This level is the hardest P-rank in the game, bar several other ones later on. Peppino's ability to climb walls made Bloodsauce's original run back a breeze. You could ignore a lot of the level in favor of just scampering to freedom. Makes a lot of sense that Noise would have a much harder time escaping hell than Peppino, but it's not because of all that sin weighing him down. See, a lot of sections with the Noise can be cheesed pretty easily with the tornado. All you have to do is hold down and you're free. The Ascent is where that trick stops working, and now you have to reckon with a huge amount of pinpoint turns and tight dives that you also need to do while making sure to bounce off the walls enough to ascend, but not too much that you're caught on everything. Plus, without the wall crawl that Peppino has, you're left with only the super jump as your vertical ascension option, which is good, but you have to make the split-second choice on whether or not to super jump or try to get up the wall with bounces, which after 5 of them is gonna start doing more harm than good. Pick wrong even once and you lose a lot of time and potentially the entire run. And sections previous, where Peppino was able to climb up with no issue, suddenly become a lot more complicated since they have bends in them, which leaves your super jump useless. Hey now, a couple hairs on that head aren't gray, which means we haven't done our job yet. Did you forget that you have to do this twice? The time limit on Bloodsauce Dungeon is inhumane. Man's cruelty towards his fellow man is put on full display when you see you only have 3 minutes and 20 seconds to get out of here. After zipping through so much of the later sections of the level with the tornado, you realize just how much time doing it the hard way takes, and suddenly your 3 minutes and 20 seconds gets chewed into a lot. This is one of the very few levels where Pizzaface is almost always getting triggered, and he's the last thing I need right now. Bloodsauce Dungeon's P rank is one of the absolute strictest in the entire game, and I can't decide if it demands exactly enough from the player to put them in the right mindset for how hard P ranks are supposed to be, or if it's a needlessly aggravating mess. Let's just call it sassy and leave it at that. Oh damn, you're not dead yet? Peppermin's back for a second round. What the hell are you doing now? Boss fights are the biggest change from standard gameplay, since unlike Peppino, the dash grab is unavailable. Oh, Noise can still do it, of course. Just not during boss fights, because heaven forbid I get anything. So instead of doing things the easy way, we get to throw bombs instead. They'll bounce along the ground for a few seconds before, you guessed it, blowing up. And if they hit the boss whenever they're vulnerable, they do a tick of damage. Remember how I said I initially quit after the first world? This is where I quit. I thought the bombs sucked, and I had zero fun fighting a boss I can beat with my eyes closed. The bomb doesn't come out instantly like a dash would. Instead, the bomb will come out after a second, and that one delay is a second too late every single time. My brain was hardwired one way, that was to try to attack as soon as the opportunity presented itself. But with that minute delay, my entire muscle memory was fried. I called it quits. But honestly, looking back, I have no idea why this ever gave me trouble. I think I was treating the bomb way too much like a projectile that had to be used at range, when in reality, if you got right up next to Peppermin after he bounces off the wall, very easy with a well-timed parry, it basically just turned into a kick that will function the same way as the dash. Well, almost the same. See, the major difference, and something that offsets the potential for a ranged attack in boss fights that primarily use melee, is that unlike Peppino, who gets a few frames of invincibility after landing a successful dash, Noise gets nothing. Positioning and strategy take a huge precedent in these fights, considering what little safety net you had just got cut out from under you, and the floor is approaching at a rapid pace. This becomes a much bigger issue in later boss fights, but even with Peppermin, you're gonna find yourself getting hit in ways that you never did as Peppino. Falling statues were, at worst, an annoyance in the fight before this, but without the invincibility frames you had before, you suddenly find them to be a lot more prevalent than you felt at first. The trade-off is that the bomb's ranged abilities do come in handy a lot. For instance, it may be difficult to set up, but during the second phase of ground pounds, where Peppermin's bouncing off of the walls, you can actually launch a bomb out ahead of you so that when he lands, he'll land directly on it. For a section I've seen more than a fair share of people struggle with when it comes to timing, it's an interesting way to give a second option to tackle the boss. The boss is largely unchanged from the original fight, except for that final phase where you need to carve out a statue. Noise's bombs come out glacially slow against Peppino's dash, so instead of quickly slamming your face to carve out a masterpiece, you need to take the low and slow approach and really put the demo in demolition. Peppermin's fight is as good as ever, even if tricks like hugging the wall to skip the return trip shoulder barge are, at the very least, a lot harder to pull off. It's a fun boss fight that caps off the first world with an appropriate challenge. Difficult, but not ball-busting by any means. Now, I did mention that Peppermin was who I wanted to see playable next, and while I'm unsure of what Tour de Pizza's plans are going forward, or if they're inventing some wholly new, much darker direction, I can at least be happy that plenty of other people wanted the same thing I did. Modding Pizza Tower to me seems like something on the level of jury-rigging a NASA shuttle in your backyard, given how much effort goes into making a single character playable. But the amount that seek to give Peppermin his dues are nice to see. Certain mods will also go out of their way to give him his own distinguishing features. The Peppermin mod by Weegio is easily my favorite and totally worth a look. I'm looking towards the future though, and oh, it's looking dim. I don't think any level took as big of a hit in my standings with it than Oregano Desert. Before, I said that Oregano Desert was a good level doing way too much all at once. Now I think it's a frustrating level with so much on its plate that it can't even see the table anymore. This is hard to reckon with, as when the level starts with all these bends and perfectly placed mozzarella globs, it leads to some of the most natural feeling and best comboing Noise can do in the early game. You glide so naturally from set piece to set piece that it feels like it's all choreographed. On-the-fly thinking that feels as satisfying to pull off as it does amazing to look at. That's while the stage is under a manageable amount of pressure, with only 2 gimmicks. As you add on more and more with the Firemouth power-up, which is a lot floatier and therefore worse with noise, the supermarkets, which range from fun to a distillation to the level's key problems, and the cows. Ugh, I forgot how much I do not like these guys. You know the banana peels from John Gutter that the monkeys drop? How they took away control from you for a few moments and even that was too long? Well, imagine if they never went away, were about 10 times as big, and sent you even further. The cows elicit this unique reaction that pretty much nothing else in the game gets from me, and that's, very few hazards in the game get me annoyed when they hit. It's a very limited pool. Ghost King traps in Pizza Scare, the Pizza Ninjas in Oh Shit, and the cows in Oregano Desert all get this reaction, because they all need you to do a flow-breaking little dance to get around them, because they're all frustrating to deal with in normal gameplay. The cows are probably the least egregious of the three, but still, if you get stopped by a cow, it feels like it takes an eternity to get back into rhythm because it's such a pace killer. And while moving as fast as you can, what you want to be doing at all times, that will still lead you into a cow anyway. And to avoid it, you actually have to slow down, which breaks the flow whether you get hit or not. What makes Oregano Desert such a pain in the context of P ranks is that it's just a really annoying level. Not hard. If it was hard like Pizza Scare, Don't Make a Sound, or Blood Sauce Dungeon, it'd be one thing. But it's how punishing a single mistake can be, and how it can cost you the whole thing, that it doesn't come across as difficult, just unforgiving and cruel. Also, why does the spaceship have its own unique music that only gets used for like 2 rooms? I don't think any song in the game has as little play as Oregano UFO. Did I, not realize that this level is fantastic? I underrated the hell out of Wasteyard when I first played, but in all fairness, I think that Noise and his uniqueness really helped to put into perspective the design choices of Wasteyard that made it click. First off, and most importantly, the game was updated to give the Ghost transformation much smoother controls. And this, alongside how Noise changes the controls, meld together beautifully. See, instead of Ghost Peppers increasing your speed permanently, they'll instead give you a longer dash depending on how many you've picked up. A controlled burst like this that limits the slippery movement that Peppino could suffer from is the best decision they could have made for the level, and makes the long stretches where you're trapped as a ghost all the better. Even when out of ghost form though, this level proves that just because halls aren't his natural environment, it doesn't mean that Noise is any less comfortable in them. Just like Oregano Desert, enemies and walls are in just the right spots that you can rebound from one to the next, and really highlights the flow and momentum-based gameplay that Noise can really have. Of course, the level's best moment is the run back with Ghost of Pillar John. I still think his rubber banding is a little insane.
I'm gonna get ya, you little f***. Could you please get a move on?
This course in particular, though, is so good for Noise. The stews you skate on are perfect for comboing from one to the next. Enemies and top-ends are in just the right spot to leave your combo in freefall till the very last second, and complement Ghost of Pillar John trying to make this your very last second. The P rank on this stage is probably not one of the best in the game, but when I was starting my P ranking journey, this was one of the first stages where I got that feeling of, hang on, can I do this? That moment where it all started clicking. I saw the lines, I saw the optimal routing. This was a watershed moment for my time playing, and I'm always going to hold it in high regard. It does still suffer from being a very short level. Even with an additional lap thrown on for good measure, this level still clocks in near the bottom in terms of length. I would love to say that it's the exact length it needs to be, and that they did all they could with the concept. Screw that, I'd play Wasteyard no matter how long it was. Also, and I know it's not fair because it's not even a Noise-specific track, but God is Tombstone, Arizona a great song. I love it to bits. And for as far as Oregano Desert has fallen, Wasteyard has risen up just as highly. I'd go so far as to say it's my favorite level in the world. Except... if you had told me that goddamn Funny Farm would end up being not just one of the best levels in the game, but potentially top 3 favorite levels, I would have called you a scallywag. I would have called you a cad. I would have called you a fuckhead. And I wouldn't have believed you. Hell, I could have told me that and I wouldn't have believed me. Have you heard what this guy's had to say? He thinks Worldwide Noise is better than It's Pizza Time. Noises run through a Funny Farm, though? Absolute classic. It's all down to the noise this time. The level is a bit cumbersome with Peppino, but for a seasoned noise player, this is a land of opportunity. No downtime, 0 moments where you're not allowed to go whole hog and barrel through this pleasant meadow. The whole ride through is buttery smooth, and enemies that at one point would have stopped Peppino dead in his tracks are now totally manageable, not just thanks to the noise, but to how noise reworks Mort the Chicken. Yeah, everybody loves Mort, he's the cluckin' best! I actually thought I was on the wrong side of history when I said that I thought Mort's controls were a bit awkward. It turns out it's actually the popular opinion that people generally don't like Mort, which I think the team at Tour de Pizza took a little personally since, well, this is a character out on loan after all. They don't want to make Ed Annunziata look bad. Instead of the Noise being held hostage like Peppino was, Noise grips Mort by the neck and instead of swinging him to attack, will instead throw him like a boomerang that locks onto the nearest enemy or Mort hook. This change makes so many sections of the level way more enjoyable. Now enemies hidden behind walls aren't safe except if you have a super taunt. A well-placed chicken upside their head will make their efforts paltry. It's also an absolute breeze of a P rank. In fact, the entire level is extremely easy. It's not a challenge to clear this, or even P rank it, but frankly, I don't think they wanted it to be. I think this level was always meant to be a bit of a respite from the more intense challenges you've dealt with and that are ahead, so a little time to rest and relax with an easy breezy level is the last thing I'm gonna say no to. I mean, I do wish my teeth would stop falling out every time I beheld the Mort Cube, but honestly, it's more than worth it. I mean, it's got at least 4 pictures of a chicken on it. Where else am I going to see a chicken like the one on the Mort Cube? I got nothing again. Listen, sometimes the changes to a stage are so nominal that there really isn't much to say different from a Peppino run to a Noise run. The biggest change here is that they flipped Peppino upside down when you ride a little doggy. The level is still great. Fast Food Saloon is an absolutely great level, but the last thing either of us want is to repeat what was said last time while looking at the noise. One or the other I could take, but both at the same time? No way. How's it feel, Vigilante? How does it feel to be a bitch? Oh, goodness gracious, great bombs of fire. They finally did it. They finally made the Vigilante fight fun. Okay, so what the hell's going on? This looks like the furthest thing from fair. I don't think it's fair that this little bastard gets to take up my breathing air, so let's call it square. Fair and square. All's fair in love and war, and I love killing the Vigilante. So your bombs aren't as powerful here as they were in the Peppermint fight. It takes 2 hits to take out a bit of the Vigilante's health. But that isn't really a downside, it's the gateway to a biblical pantsing. See, after the Vigilante gets hit, he'll fly to the other side of the arena before slinking back to his spot like the gutless snake he is. In that time, you can toss a bomb out. Then as he returns to his spot, toss out another one. When the Vigilante makes it back to his spot, he's now wedged between 2 bombs and without anywhere left to run to. He will get hit, lose health, fly to the other side of the arena, and slink back. And, oh, would you look at that? That window of opportunity is the perfect size and shape to fling another 2 bombs through. If you can get the rhythm of bomb throws down and manage any stray projectiles the Vigilante might get out, like the SMG, a falling cow, or Grandpa, who's hard set to fly in at half health, so there's nothing you can do, then the Vigilante isn't a cakewalk, no, it's a total piece of cake. no walking required. Literally, you never have to move from this spot except to dodge the initial bullets and hit away Grandpa. Just nuzzle yourself close enough to the first bomb to get it into place, and he'll have no chance. Now, it does take a hot minute to get the rhythm down, but once you do, oh my god, euphoria. His health starts melting, and the fight ends in a neat and tidy 90 seconds. Oh, the P rank? The P rank. I'm actually really glad you asked about the P rank. Me? We're talking easiest P rank in the entire game. Both campaigns! Even John Gutter. A power outage might hit, and that could cost you a little time, but once you learn the trick here, nothing. Absolutely nothing he can do about it. And this makes it by far the greatest improvement in the entire Noise update. Say it with me now! Fuck the Vigilante! Throw him out in the cold! Don't make him playable! Fuck, make him unplayable! See if I care! See you never, you piss-colored bozo! Oh, Crust Cove, my beloved. I want to say you're as beautiful as when I last saw you. But you got this thing on your face that's really ruining the whole vibe for me. Okay, so for a majority of the stage, I can't say a whole lot changes. Crust Cove is absolutely one of the best levels in the whole game. I think that even still, its design is really fun, with great moments of speed and even better moments where your combo begins multiplying that feel fantastic. Regardless of who's going through the level, it flows so naturally from one section to the next that keeping a combo up is super simple. I think that this stage also has one of the best looks out of any level in the game. The beach resort theme, slowly transitioning to a pirate ship, then underwater catacombs are all really well done, and, just like the gameplay, transitions from one to the other like a dream. It's got a really fun and bouncy feel to it, that only gets better with the noise and how fun and bouncy his control scheme is that turns the whole level into a pinball table. That said, the only part of the level that I didn't enjoy in the Peppino run was the barrel. I thought the barrel power-up was one of the game's weakest, with a combination of being hard to control and boring to use. You just held it down and tap jump every once in a while until the game gave you the okay to stop. It just wasn't a fun power-up to use, and I was really hoping that the noise would improve the power-up. Now I think the barrel is the second worst power-up in the entire game, so it improved in regards of being the worst. A common theme with all the shared transformations between Peppino and Noise is that noises are always faster, and for stuff like the Knight, that makes it a bit harder to control. For the barrel, it becomes impossible to control. This thing becomes so unwieldy and hard to steer. Once you get it, the smartest thing you can do in some sections is to let go of the run button and manually position yourself so you don't hit a wall and rocket backwards. Imagine an entire stage made of cows. This is what we're up against. The flow that this level maintained so well is ground to a screeching halt during the barrel sections, as you have to move in really unsatisfying ways and ruin your run just to maintain a little bit of control. That's on top of the baffling decision to make the barrel roll up walls like Peppino's wall run whenever you roll up an incline into a wall. It helps on a single section that might be a little bit hard if you're using the power-up for the first time, but every time afterwards it's basically a straight downgrade. Keep in mind you have to beat the game to unlock this mode. What's the point of a power-up being dumbed down if you've already had the advanced version? I want to say I like this level like I used to, but in all honesty, it's such a lead weight every time you use the barrel that it knocks the level down to being one I just like a lot. P ranks? Oh, you're gonna hate P ranking this level with Noise. You can stomach Oregano Desert, since there's an element of, well, I could have done that better, when you land on a cow and get kicked. With the barrel, it's so fast with so much precise platforming that it's hard to blame yourself and not want to blame it on the power-up itself. It's clunky and unfun to use, and when your run is ended near the very end by it, it feels like your run was stolen from you at the last second. Crust Cove is an unparalleled experience as Peppino, but with Noise, I can only go so far as to say it's good. But with every action comes an equal and opposite reaction. So from a stage I loved getting worse, comes a stage I didn't like getting better. How the hell did Gnome Forest turn out to be one of the best levels in the whole campaign? Regardless of how you feel about Gustavo and Brick's playstyle, you gotta admit that you never see Gnome Forest near the top of a lot of people's favorite level list. I don't even have that much nice to say about it. I thought it was on the low end of the game's levels in terms of quality. One of my main points being it didn't really feel like the level was designed with Gustavo and Brick in mind. It turns out I was dead right because the level was actually designed for the noise. I do think the choice to replace Gustavo and Brick with just more noise is a bit of a shame, but when I tell you it feels like a completely different level with the noise, I mean it. A lot of Gustavo and Brick's moves have analogs in the noise, like the Pizza Crusher acting like their double jump, and both characters bouncing off of the walls. Though in Noise's case, it feels so much better than the cumbersome nature of Gustavo and Brick. There, the tightness of certain hallways and corridors felt like you were really limited in what you could accomplish. Here, though, Noise's increased speed makes these sections a blast to get through. Noise's fast descension options leave him in a great spot whenever the game funnels you downwards, and never once did I feel frustrated with the layout like I did before. If anything, this one kinda ruins the original level for me, since why would I want to play a level like that when the same level exists, but with a control scheme that feels built to the course itself? Bar none, Gnome Forest had the biggest glow up with the noise update, and it even helped me appreciate more aspects of the level that I didn't give enough attention to in my first run-through. The magical forest setting is really fun, even if the pizza wizards, or pizzards as they prefer you don't call them, and magic pickles can still hit you when you least expect them. Hands down though, the worst enemies in this stage were the noise goblins, with their arrows that pierce the environment to hit you no matter where you were. That does lead very nicely to how the level itself changed for the better, both noise-specific and more general changes. For noise-specific stuff, the noise goblins now just wave at you as you run past, or through, completely shutting them off, though you can still trigger them with a taunt if you want to get the stage's chef task. Also, the level's top-end gimmick is totally eliminated, as charity is for when the disaster passes, not during it. The general changes were mostly made to make the level less of a screeching headache to P-rank, adding rat fairies to the final secret room and this hallway that were infamous for killing P-rank attempts. They give you a few extra top-ins to keep your combo going long enough to get to the next set of enemies or the exit. Speaking of which, this level has to be one of the most fun P-ranks in the entire update. It's a lot like Blood Sauce Dungeon, where you never stop pressing buttons and have very few instances where you can relax. But something about when Gnome Forest does it makes it a lot easier to manage. Probably because the return trip track is a lot shorter rather than the entire length of the level like it was with Blood Sauce Dungeon. I really can't say enough good stuff about Noise's Gnome Forest. It shouldn't work, but somehow they pulled it off. Also, you can get an exclusive pair of clothes if you beat this level without ever harming a noise goblin, which I would go for it, but pacifism is kind of out of character, and this is my favorite RPG of all time, so I ain't breaking character. This was honestly the scariest level to come back to. I really hope Noise doesn't fuck this up, because golf was such a blast the first time around, and if I have to hate it, I'll be so sad. Oh, thank God. Alright, so for the unfamiliar, golf is the silliest level out of the entire game, and it's all the better for it. Instead of the goal being get to the end of the level, now we have to suppress our noisy urges and help another living creature. Thank God it's by hitting him as hard as we can. Take Greaseball to the hoop at the end of the course and earn yourself a Primo Burger. What happens if you make it there over par? No, it ain't! The level offers no major gameplay changes through a power-up or movement option, but what it does offer is the perfect extension of the joke that is golf. Having Noise constantly up the par so he can't lose no matter how many hits it takes is genius. The first time I played the level as the Noise and saw the par change, I had to pause because I was laughing so hard. This expansion did such a good job taking the amount of energy and character they were able to put into Peppino, do it again with the Noise, and do it in such a different way. Peppino looked like at any second he'd stop listening to your controls and just start sobbing from the stress. Meanwhile, Noise is ripping the controller out of your hands so he can play more violently. Every one of this little freak's animations get across that he is having the best time of his life causing havoc, and the screens on the television for stuff like power-ups are always hilarious. I especially love his regular walk animation when he gets a combo higher than 25, running around like a kid would on Halloween, holding up his cape to look scarier. But when the combo gets higher than 50, by Jove, old chum, would you care for a rousing game of bingo bango bongo and to wash it down with some leaded gasoline? Oh my, I forgot you're dieting unleaded. Speaking of AC-doocy, Noise's ever-increasing par and combo resets whenever you touch Greaseball do mean that technically you can take this level as slow as you want until pizza time. There's no mechanic that makes you go faster in this level, so if you really want to use golf like Funny Farm as a sort of respite from the insanity that is Pizza Tower, you can do that, and still have a great shot at P ranking. Speaking of which, it is a fairly hard P rank. It did take quite a long time, but it also wasn't a pain. Not having a round of golf on the second lap helps a lot with that, but again, it's not a stressful or annoying P rank. If anything, the sections where you're tossed back and forth between pitchers reminds me a little too much of the Barrel and Crust Cove, where I didn't have much agency about where I'm going. I'm not gonna let it cloud my love for this level though. Golf was great back then, and it's just as good now. Rounding out the floor is an old flame, Deep Dish 9. This used to be my favorite level in the game. It's also still my favorite level in the game, it didn't change or anything. God, this level's good. Deep Dish 9 acting as the gut check for World 3, I think serves its purpose beautifully. The most diverse level in the whole game, with a whole host of different gimmicks and backgrounds for you to travel through. Hopping from planet to planet, each one having a very different feel. Not just in what you're doing, but where you're doing it. The long straightaways of the space station, the pits of the first planet, and the destructible environments of the second mean that every few minutes the whole structure gets flipped on its head. Each of the secret stages as well uses the gimmicks of the level to perfection, and doubly so given how Noise interacts with them. The most obvious one is the rocket, which already blows Peppino's version out of the water by having the funniest frame in the entire game. Look at him. Look at this little son of a bitch. Why do you look so proud? What is there to be proud about here? Look at you, with your cape and your pants. You're not better than me! Anyway, so the rocket power-up with the Noise is changed so instead of being able to turn so long as you're close enough to the ground, you can only turn by hitting a wall. Whereas with Peppino, that would have lost you the power-up, the only way to lose it now is to jump out of it. I think this is a great power-up, but I don't know if it beats out the original in my mind. With that one, the stress of making last-second turns was always a thrill and a lot of fun. This form takes that thrill away, but replaces it with enough fun stuff that it doesn't hinder the experience or anything. That's not the only power-up that changes, though the second one has such a minor change that I doubt many people caught it at first. In the olive bubbles, you can hold up in order to ascend faster. It's a very minor change, but does make some sections like the pit on the first planet and the first room of Pizza Time move just that little bit faster so you don't lose momentum. Also, with time and plenty of repeated attempts for P ranks, this room has become a lot less difficult to manage, especially with trying to preserve a combo. Just don't kill everything as soon as you enter the room, save some enemies to take out when your combo number starts to get a little thin. As for that P rank, it's among the game's hardest, yet most fun. Each room becomes littered with traps when you aren't allowed to screw up, and too many sloppy moves sends you all the way back to the start. Also, this level is just really unforgiving with its score total. If you don't know, every level has a score total you need to meet before you get to S and P, and Deep Dish 9 has to have one of the strictest. You can play perfectly, do everything right, and even by the time of the end of the second lap, you're still at an A rank, on the border of an S, but still A. A lot of the traps in this level, though, are skill-based rather than frustration-based, and make for a much smoother experience than other extremely difficult P ranks. This is the P rank I go for when I want to feel a sense of accomplishment, and not just like I got a gimme like John Gutter. This is the one I practiced the most since I loved the level so much, I wanted to put a stamp on it with a P rank. The world might have had a shining star turned rough diamond with Crust Cove, but it's still the best floor the game has to offer. What with how much fun golf is and how much better Gnome Forest did, all topped off with Deep Dish 9. But what would the best floor be without the best boss? Well, it would be what we have now, cause we're playing as him. Let's go see who's squatting on our property. In the red corner, weighing his options between murder and manslaughter, he's illegally blind in 3 eyes, it's the Noise! And in the dumb fuck corner, fighting out of desperation, he's stupid, he's ugly, he's Mr. Bitch! So while we were busy saving our pizzeria from that nasty pizza face, this little mutant snuck his way in and made a mess of the whole place. You might think that this is the height of laziness given how Doise is just noise but blue, but believe it or not, there's actually a background to this guy. See, the Pizza Tower fandom is active. And a piece of fan art that caught the creator's eyes was this one of recolors of Peppino and Noise, calling them Pedito and Doise. The fandom and developers thought this image was so funny that they would joke around for years before the game's release, saying that when the Noise would be made a playable character, Doise would be the replacement. Fast forward though, and we found out they weren't joking. There's a lot about Doise and Pedito, including their inclusion in a Pizza Tower themed Doom mod, but that's neither here nor there. Doise in the canon of Pizza Tower is weird. Now, saying canon of Pizza Tower is weirder, but really, what is this guy doing here? Why does the Noise have a copy that takes over his stage, and why is this his background? The Doise fight feels alien compared to every other fight in the game. Obviously, fake Peppino was weird, but he's designed to be weird and unsettling. I honestly have no idea what I'm supposed to get from the Doise, but once you reach his second phase and the background turns into a Gygas-inspired flesh nightmare of conjoined Doises, I know what I want to get, and that's out of here! We're not gonna do that without taking him out first, though, so how are we doing it? Well, that's pretty simple, seeing as the fight is largely a reskin of the Noise fight. Now, remember that the Noise fight was the best fight in the entire game, and suddenly that prospect is a lot more enticing. The skateboard, jetpack, and pogo stick attacks are all preserved, but the bomb dropper is changed to replace them with rocks. Instead of exploding, the rocks will bounce along the ground a few times, and then blow up, and is one of the few times that a successful parry can still end up having you take damage, since they linger around afterwards instead of just blowing up. This one did temporarily fry my muscle memory with this fight, but once you overcome that, it's just a matter of accounting for what moves coming next. This method of mixing and matching moves makes this fight the most fun one to rematch for P ranks in the game. Sure, it's not predictable, but that's a good thing. I really like how the Noise doesn't give you a set order that the moves are gonna come out in, because if you're trying to P rank it and have to fight the boss over and over and over again, repetition starts to get really, really annoying. The Noise, and by extension the Doise, make the fight a lot more fun because you don't know what attack is gonna come next. You're keeping your brain on a constant spin trying to figure out, okay, is he gonna go for the pogo stick, the skateboard, God help you if he goes for the bomb drop, and that makes it a lot more fun. Trust me, you're gonna see in the next fight that repetition is not always to a boss's advantage. Who the hell was that? I mean, I got the P rank, but I don't really feel like I earned it with that run-in. Let's try again. Dude, imagine you're a kid online and you make recolors of Mario and Luigi called Barrio and Gugigi, and then you upload them to your YouTube page next to your Sonic for Hire Friday Night Funkin' mods. Then Shigeru Miyamoto puts them in the next game and fucking kills them. That is so fucked up. The worst level in the entire game. It was a three-way tie last time. It's not this time. Oh shit was awful. I didn't like it before, and Noise made it worse. Okay, so how did he do it this time? Well, see, you're playing oh shit. I think that's where most of the problems stem from. This level is so goddamn boring, but also very frustrating. And that mostly comes down to how much of it is spent not playing the level. That should be a good thing, because the level sucks. But what it really means is that so much movement in this level is automated. Let's count. The tubes, those take control away and force you to watch the screen just move around a bit. It's apparently faster than Peppino traveling through the tubes, but not in a way that you would notice. The rushing water currents, though more manageable than Peppino's run through because they're even worse in that one, take control away. The penny pinchers take control away and fling you upwards, which in this section right here is absolutely abysmal. Strong candidate for the worst couple of feet in the entire game. The trash buckets that used to give you a nice little lid to skate by on now just shoot you up into the air in the most bland way possible. No spice, no pizzazz, nothing the Noise can't already do on his own. The banana peels take control away and send you flying, either into a pit or into an even longer section where you don't do anything. The mozzarella ball takes control away and lets you watch as they show off how the barrel could have been even less fun. And the power-up it gives you? Awful, despite a bonus added onto it from the Peppino version. See, the Cheese Monster power-up was already a load of level 13 of Pizza Tower, but the Noise version gives you the ability to climb walls by holding up while clung to one. How do you learn this? Divine it from the cosmos. It doesn't tell you you can do this. I only found out about it after the fact while looking for videos to tell me I had the correct opinion. It kinda helps in some rooms, but other times it's actually slower than just jumping from wall to wall like you would in a normal stage. I've complimented stages before for having a lot of inputs you need to nail back to back. Well, I'm positive oh shit has the lowest number of inputs needed. It really feels like you're vestigial to the level's progress. One of the special stages needs you to just press the jump button once and then it plays itself. The run back during pizza time and the P rank lap that follows? Awful. Hate it. Filled with the level's best tricks and gimmicks, all of which are bad. The penny pincher tunnel, trash shooters, cheese balls, and the monster power-up. This isn't the hardest P rank in the game, but it is the one that I had to do the most, because it's just not good. Some level coming up has to be absolutely stellar now, because every ounce of quality in oh shit was siphoned out and left as a shriveled up shell of what it used to be. Which was a bad level. I'm the authority here! I own the Pizza Tower Cup, okay? I mean, it's better, but it's still not fun. Peppybot Factory continues to be a level that baffles me to no end as to why they made half the choices they made. First off, you may notice this bucket that will follow you from the start of the stage. Well, in the beginning of the stage, there's a corner here with plugs just about everywhere. And with how fast the Noise goes, you're likely to hit this plug wall no matter what. So as a workaround, they gave you a bucket that will short-circuit these plugs and no other plugs with water, so that you don't hit them. I feel so weird about this because, really? There was no more elegant solution to this problem than to give the player a bucket that turns off just these plug boxes? Why not just get rid of them altogether if one character needs a hyper-specific power-up to get past them? But then again, It's hilarious! Noise just brings a bucket of water and short circuits only these plug boxes, and this bucket's apparently so precious to him, not only does he take it to fucking war with him, it's one of 3 prized possessions he has that he takes out of the tower with him. I think it could have been done better, but it couldn't have been done better. As for the rest of the stage, it's still just as much of a mishmash of ideas as it was before. Hot dog businessmen that either do nothing or throw a fist out of a can? The bomb goblins from Ancient Cheese? Nothing has come out to tell me otherwise, so I'm still convinced that this is a demo stage put in front of a really short stage so that it would make weight. And it is very short. Peppybot Factory is up there with Waste Yard as a level that's over before you know it. It's gonna throw all sorts of garbage your way, like the conveyor belts with boost pads and plug boxes, and grabby hands that are at best bland and at worst a pain to deal with. But they're barely around, the level is that short. The level's gimmick feels the least impactful as Noise, since a lot of what it's doing, carrying momentum with the grabby hands and flying across the conveyor belts, Noise can already accomplish on his own. And the Peppibots the level is named for? Barely a threat. They show up so infrequently, and with Noise's tornado attack, they're blown past with 0 resistance. Even the special stages feel real slapdashed. One of them tasks you with getting over a small barrier, and the other one has you combine a bomb with a grabby hand for one of the very few, and maybe only times in the game this interaction ever comes up. The one saving grace for the level, though, is that the power-up to replace the pizza box power-up is fantastic. Collectible toy Noise with the jetpack that lets him fly indefinitely is a real treat, letting you soar over the pesky conveyor belts with 0 worry. There's no way you're gonna fall into the conveyor belts, since unlike the pizza box power-up, which requires you to keep flapping to stay in the air, just holding down the jump button will let you fly as long as you want with the jetpack. The P rank for this level, it's really short. It's not very interesting. I like how deep the backtrack for the Jerome room is, but just like the rest of the stage, it's just kinda boring. Seeing people say this is one of the hardest P ranks in the game, well, they're probably talking about the Peppino version, but with the Noise, not a chance. Doesn't even make it close to the top 10. Overall, Peppybot Factory is improved, but like the least something can be improved without really changing much. Alright, we ate our vegetables, it's time for the candy. I have developed this opinion in my P-ranking journey, where I had to play every level multiple times over and perfect them all. Deep Dish 9 is my favorite level, but Pig City is the best level. I get more out of Deep Dish 9, but I acknowledge that as a level, when it comes down to brass tacks and which level is better designed, Pig City wins. Any level against Pig City wins. The level is overflowing with fun gimmicks just like the first run through. And just like before, all 3 gimmicks are different from the Noise than they were with Gustavo, Brick, and Peppino. When he gets a rat balloon, Noise's head will inflate, and from there you can control his altitude and spin out of it whenever you want. Whereas the pig cops needed you to hit them to get Brick back, or build up speed to snap them away, Noise will instead wield them like a flail and spin them around to hit anything in his way. And unlike grabbing the bars or grinding, Noise will grab the bars and grind. Okay, so they couldn't think of a third thing to do with a grind rail. Sue 'em. You do at least get the grabber gloves when you would have swapped to Gustavo and Brick, so the function does change. I will say that their exclusion is felt a lot more in this stage than it was in Gnome Forest, given that their playstyle is what made it so unique. The Oregano Desert style approach to Toppin' Collection, where you have to run a little course in a bigger level, works so much better here, as these mini courses make up a lot more of the level's size, and each offers a more robust and unique challenge than the Oregano Desert ones did. The transition between Bite the Crust and Way of the Pig as well when you swap to the second Noise is like trading gold for platinum. Probably the best set of songs in a stage that has multiple tracks. The graphics also change in a great way between Peppino and the Noise, with Noise holding the pig drivers hostage with a revolver to make them drive, before crumpling once he gets got. One of the Noisies taking up the wheel in the second half of the stage, and even getting his own little cigarette. It's also the only time I can think of where a level's main background changes during pizza time, and it makes the run back all the more hectic and crazy than it already was. The one criticism is that the run back and P-rank runs are pretty simple and short, not making you run through anything you haven't already, but honestly, I think the level already does so much that nothing else was really needed. If you want somebody to get into Pizza Tower and click with the game instantly, Pig City has every element that Pizza Tower does best. I can't think of any other level that deserves to be called Pizza Tower's crowning achievement. Okay, we're just gonna call it Fridge. This level absolutely changes the most from the Peppino run, as you start the level by warming up with a great big thermos of hot gasoline. This allows the Noise to skip most of the level's gimmick and get to the end, because you get the Satan's Choice Pizza power-up to start with. Makes sense, he is a denizen of hell. You don't get the invincibility or fireballs, but you can hold down the jump button to ascend and become a great big hitbox when you do. It's certainly an interesting way to make the stage unique to Noise, and it does wonders for making it a wholly new experience. Now you're even able to break ice blocks that you shouldn't have been able to yet, and cut out whole sections of the level if you're in a pinch for time and want to do a speed run. It does mean that P-ranking the level is a bit of a pain though, as every time you restart you have to watch Noise chug a whole car engine, which gets old around the third time you have to watch it. Aside from that, the inclusion of the flying power-up from the start turns this level from a fun time into a feast or famine level where you're either thriving or dying. You can reach ludicrous speeds early in this level that let you blitz through entire rooms and fly towards the end. Only issue is that if you sniff a wall, you're stopped dead in your tracks. These are the two states the level exists in. You're either a speed demon, or a snail trying to get back up to the speed limit. This makes the level's P rank a nightmare, because a single misstep costs you all your speed, and the level's icy terrain and geography filled with bumps and roadblocks means getting back up to speed is easier said than done. But those parts where you can go fast feel fantastic, and you want to try really hard to get to them. So you try some more, and then the level's relatively low topping count makes you drop the combo and you have to take a second. A lot of how your experience with this stage pans out is dependent on very, very subtle movements. And to a lot of people, that can be really frustrating if you're trying to do it perfectly. This was one of my least favorite P-ranks for that very reason, and when I replayed it just to get a feel before writing, all I could think about was how little fun I had during that P-rank. That's only for P-ranks though, very important to clarify. I like this level, quite a lot actually, and the Noise enhanced the experience by a lot. Though moments like getting the Satan's Choice Pizza and then losing it on lap 2 are diminished somewhat since Noise doesn't actually lose a whole lot in the transition. Regardless though, Fridge is still a phenomenal level to close out World 4. You don't scare me anymore. You terrify me. Alright, so we're back up against fake Peppino, and everything about this fight, great. Music is still fantastic, and I'm especially happy to see more freaks like me come out of the woodwork to say how good it is. Attacks themselves, all fun, inventive twists on Peppino's own moveset. It doesn't work as well when I'm not Peppino, but I'll let it slide. The fight is fun. It's chaos. I like it a lot. This P-rank sucked. Okay, so do you remember back to the Pepperman fight, where I said that the bombs don't give Noise any invincibility like the dash gave to Peppino? Oh, you're gonna feel it here. The first round, easy, nothing to it. But in the second round, where the clones are flying from every which way, and with the bomb animation locking you in place without the ability to react out of it, you're trapped, and are way more likely to get hit by a stray clone that might not have even been there when you started the attack. It is so frustrating to get halfway through a boss battle, only to get booted all the way back to the start because of an errant Italian man rocketing at you. It would be one thing though if it was in the first half, but because it's in the second half, you have to play through the entire first phase every single time. Oh, but the first phase is easy, right? Right! Way too easy. A few of these attacks like the charge, the brain throwers, and the final attack are beaten with a jump every once in a while. They're not engaging at all. You don't even have to move for the frog attack! The wall runner can be a little fun to parry, but if you have to go out of your way to try and make the boss fun, instead of the boss naturally being fun to fight, that's an issue. It gets absolutely mind-numbing after a while, repeating the same 6 attacks that are never gonna hit you over and over and over, trying to get back to a second phase where you know deep down in your heart you're about to lose to the same bullshit that hit you the last time. The bomb's range can only do so much to alleviate the Clone Peppino problem, since Clone Peppinos can eat bombs meant for the real fake one. As a fight, I still like it, but as a P rank, it doesn't gel with Noise's abilities at all. I wish I could say nicer things about it, but frankly, after a while, I was just bored and frustrated that I had to keep redoing the same fight over and over again because of one mistake. And as if they couldn't make the fight any worse. For some stupid reason, during the run back, they reverted the clone monster back to his old speed, before a nerf made it actually manageable. It just makes me wanna... Oh, so this is where all the good and oh shit went. Right next to Gnome Forest and Funny Farm, Pizza Scare took a huge uptick in quality by swapping out the playable character. And I would say it's now more fun than even the level it was originally based on. Okay, it's not perfect, so let's just address it. After so many other stage gimmicks got nullified by the noise, not getting to be the one that knocks out the King Ghost was a very odd choice. Now, you can do that in a metaphorical sense, which we'll get to, but there are so many other stages, like Golf, where Noise gets to ignore the level gimmick altogether. And for being the only stage with a presence like this that you don't get to fight back against, the Noise not just vacuuming him up or shooting him was a really odd choice. However, this level is the perfect combination of straightaways to gain speed and jagged terrain for the Noise to stunt around. You're able to chain moves together flawlessly around the castle's interior. So many opportunities to let loose and plow through a bunch of enemies, especially ghosts when you get across. There are a lot of moments where Noise's increased speed lets the level work so much better than it did with Peppino. Moments where Peppino's speed disadvantage meant you were in more danger of taking a hit are nullified as Noise zooms right past them. Long upward shafts you either had to climb up into plug boxes or risk using the ladder to get past, Noise completely bypasses them with no issue. Of course, the trade-off is that when you get to long sections like this, where the King Ghost possesses plug boxes, your reflexes have to be totally on point. So why not remove him altogether? The absolute best thing the Noise does to this level, though, is use a few of his own tricks to completely nullify the King Ghost. Once you make it to the second room he's in, you have to let him out of the TV so he can use an anchor to break a block. But Noise's Pizza Crusher lets him break blocks anyway, so instead you can proceed through the rest of the room without him and have a much better time. There are a couple points in this level where that's possible, and they're all great to finally be able to explore unimpeded. Noise's movement options make a previously annoying and frustrating to navigate level a breeze that you can speed through in no time flat, giving us a P rank that, while still difficult as hell, does provide a fun challenge rather than a teeth-grinding mess. To the developer who thought to remove the ramp when you return on the run back during pizza time, your check is in the mail. Let's all give a very big thank you to Homer Simpson for finally making Pizza Scare good. Didn't they close down this goddamn restaurant? Why am I still allowed in? Don't Make a Sound used to be a better version of Pizza Scare. But now that Pizza Scare has seen its stocks skyrocket after that last performance, where does that leave Don't Make a Sound? Well, the level's main gimmick remains largely unchanged. Guards are dotted all around the place that will trigger killer animatronics to get you if you let them catch you. Noise's speed makes ripping a whole room apart a piece of cake, but it does also mean that the level's ways of slowing you down are even more deadly. The sticky cheese on the ground leaves you totally helpless if you let yourself get caught. And if you triggered a guard before falling in, you have to gun it to try to get them before they wake up the robots. The level does a sense of fear and tension really well in that way, never letting you feel truly safe or in control of the situation, since any dilly-dallying gets a decrepit pizza bot sicked on you. It encourages the player to get it together as fast as possible, better than most any other stage in the game. Not just for the sake of doing well and getting a good rank, but also avoiding interaction with its central gimmick. Speaking of the stage's central gimmicks, oh brother. See, Noise doesn't get the shotgun that Peppino got, instead getting the Gatling gun that he would have had in his boss fight if not for Noisette interrupting. Now, as a throwback to the fight itself, very clever, and really, there's no other options for Noise, short of the revolver he uses to shoot Vigilante and threaten the cabbies in the Pig City. Using it though? Oh god, it's not fun! Compared to the shotgun and how it worked, no other power-up suffered as big a downgrade as the gun. So instead of the single, elegant, and delicate blast of a shotgun, the Gatling gun will spray sausage all over the screen. But instead of stopping your momentum dead, it will instead actively push you back whenever you use it. This lacks any of the punch that the shotgun had that made it so much fun to use. Sure, it gets rid of enemies in your way, but with the shotgun, it felt like you were blowing things away. For a few seconds, the space in front of you became the deadliest place on planet Earth. The Gatling gun, though, has none of the impact or even a satisfying sound effect to go along with it. And the slam attack that used to be so easy to use with Peppino is now unwieldy and hard to control. You move way too much to the sides when firing down, and the amount of times you'd even want to fire down instead of just slamming are non-existent in either of the levels you use this thing in. The run back is still easy since you can just ignore it and use the charge anyway, but it's hard to ignore that this is a strictly worse and less fun version of the shotgun. The level itself is still great. The P-rank run is a dream, all things considered, but at least the gun is only used in this level and no upcoming levels. It's not as good, guys, I'm sorry. Oh, how the mighty have fallen. A stage that managed to beat out Deep Dish 9 and Pig City, now I can't say I have the same love for it. Obviously, I've already P-ranked it, so there's nothing different there. It's the damn gun! This thing is glued to your hip for the entire level, so it's impossible to ignore. It's nowhere near as fun as the shotgun, and it gets exacerbated so much more when you don't just have it on the run back, but the entire level. Nothing changed about war itself. It rarely does that, so I've heard, but this one change takes a never-ending thrill ride and really kneecaps it. With Peppino, I felt war click instantly and loved every second. With Noise, though, it's good. A lot of different gimmicks all coming together. Hell, even the bucket shows up again. But it just doesn't come together the way that I majorly enjoyed it when I was playing as Peppino. I'm not trying to be a negative Nurgle about it, but if both these levels sent me a draft notice, I know which one I'm responding to. Well, that's every main stage cleared up. Time to get to Pizza Face and finally end this. Except, have you heard what they're putting in the water? Secrets of the World was a new level added in the Halloween update, and calling it a new level is already up for debate. See, it doesn't introduce anything new, but is rather all of the game's 57 secret rooms stuck together into one gigantic level. It's only accessible after finding all the game's secret levels, so now seems like as good a time as any to cover it. As soon as you enter the stage, you'll get a randomly selected stage from the 57 available. And from there, you'll get 25 seconds to clear the room and to make it to the eye at the end, collecting anything you find along the way, like toppins, and the pizza sonas that are worth the same as a large topping. The level doesn't have any toppin friends, Jerome rooms, or, surprise surprise, secrets, so this is all you need to do. As a look back at the game post-completion, giving you a chance to re-experience a part of the journey in a whole new way, I think Secrets of the World is a genius reuse of existing assets. Having to get through the stage as quickly as possible, knowing that what comes next isn't the stage you were playing, but rather a new, randomly selected short track to run, makes you see a lot of levels in different ways, trying to figure out the best way to save time and move as efficiently as possible. This is where noise-specific tricks like the Pizza Crusher Fly or Super Jump work wonders. The Gnome Forest first secret room is rendered a joke by the Crusher trick, and plenty of stages can be cleared in seconds since their eye is just above Noise's starting position and a super jump will win no matter what. Now, it's not all recycled stuff, as there is a new track to accompany the level, and that's Secret Lockin'. I feel like every time I like a song, I call it one of the best in the game, but genuinely, Secret Lockin' is one of the few songs I keep on standby when writing or generally just zoning out because it's such a fun and relaxing listen. It takes motifs from a whole load of different songs and stitches them together perfectly, blending seamlessly. If you just play Secrets of the World as a regular level, it's a total blast! But you may have noticed a combo counter in the corner, and that the first room has an enemy in it. Oh god. Yep, you can P-rank this level, but take my advice. Don't. It's not worth it. Spent hours trying to P-rank this level, and it is a hell on earth. Why is that? The entire level is 12 goddamn minutes. I don't even think it's a question that this is the longest stage in the game, and depending on that random stage selection, your ability to look at yourself in the mirror might take a huge hit in those 12 minutes. Depending on what stages you get and when, you might get hit with a lot of stages in a row either you don't have a lot of practice in, or simply aren't that good at back to back, or who rely on gimmicks that are finicky and hard to keep control of. The Firemouth secret stage from Oregano Desert, with its floaty controls it has when playing as the Noise, killed so many runs at this stage, a wing of the graveyard is named in its honor. The Ball secret stage from Golf has a set of pitchers that if you take them, it's nearly impossible to get to the end in time with how much time they waste. It never came up before because you were never under a time limit before. Other levels you can just get plain unlucky with, like if you go too fast in the Potato Farmer room from Funny Farm and fall down the pit and miss the eye. Guess what? Your whole run is over. On top of that, the length might just fry your brain. Most stages in the main game usually max out at around 7 or 8 minutes. The additional 5 minutes added on can be mentally grueling, as you pray for the stages to stop coming, constantly looking at the counter in the bottom corner to see when it ends. Nerves can get to you, and levels you can do flawlessly, you start to mess up just because you've done so many and there's so much riding on a single win or loss. As a level, I think Secrets of the World is a great and welcome addition to the roster, especially for people that feel like they've mastered the game. But as a P-rank? Man, it's the hardest in the whole game. But with that done, it's finally time to Wait, do you hear that? That means it's Halloween! And that I have no idea what these bells mean. You seriously thought I was gonna P-rank the whole game and then leave a blind spot? You don't know how much internet comments affect me. Okay, so this is a limited time exclusive event. You either have to wait until the Halloween season rolls around, or change your computer's internal calendar to trick it into thinking it's October. Doing this means that pretty much none of the other apps on your computer will work, so make sure to get in and get out. That's also how I describe the unlock method for Tricky Treat, since you don't have access to it at the beginning of your playtime. See, what you have to do is go back into every main level in the game, find a hidden pumpkin somewhere in the stage, and smash it. Luckily, all you have to do is smash it, so there's no need to worry about completing the level afterwards. It's a fun little hunt, though some stages are much harder than others. Don't Make a Sound has the hardest, as it's behind a plug wall you need the butcher animatronic to destroy first, then juke him out to try to get it. Now, collecting the pumpkins would have been enough, but there are only 20 main stages and 30 pumpkins to collect. After putting my calculator to work, I found out that's not enough, so if you want to get the rest, you've got to go back to the first hub room and enter the new level, Tricky Treat. I say level, but there aren't any secrets, collectibles, and not even a combo meter, which means you can't even P-rank it. Instead, the purpose is to try to run the new track with the ghost of Pillar John in a costume following you through the entire thing. I actually mentioned how much I would love to see Ghost of Pillar John come back in more levels as a fun gimmick. I now regret that. Yeah, I don't like Tricky Treat at all. Everything leading up to the level was fun, but as soon as you get in, ooh, I bounced off it hard. So the gimmick is you need to run the main course and 5 side courses to collect the various pumpkins. And if Ghost of Pillar John in a costume catches you, he doesn't take you back to the start of the room since it wouldn't really affect anything given how there's no combo or score. He doesn't even take you back to the start of the level. No, he takes you outside the door to the level. Why not just start me back with the granny outside the entrance where the chef tasks are? Why make you re-enter a door over and over again for repeat runs? It's a small thing on the outside, but with how many times you're gonna fail this level, you're gonna get sick of it quick. Every section of the level feels like the game going, oh, gotcha there, didn't I? Yes, good job. You put another piece of interaction that throws you back into Ghost of Pillar John in a costume without any chance of doing anything about it. I'm very happy the entire level is like this. Plug boxes, dash pads, the King Ghost again, all of this while platforming that demands perfection back to back to back is all throughout the level. And if you get hit once, oh, good luck trying to recover. It is a maddening time, and in all honesty, if this level goes away for another year, the game's better off for it. Okay, no more distractions. It's time to go kick some... Oh, right, by the way, I did find that music tier list I mentioned. Hey, where you going? There's room for 2 in there. The time has come again to dance with the devil and take on Pizza Face. And this time there's no room for failure. We gotta be flawless. Noise's fight with Pizza Face doesn't deviate too much from the Peppino fight, but the inclusion of bombs instead of the dash grab means woo boy is the first phase a piece of cake. It actually gets loads easier when you don't have to rely on a hard to perform trick to hit the boss without putting yourself in harm's way. Yep, no more jumping pile drivers to hit him without a ground pound, just throw the bomb and he dies. Rather quickly, in fact. Now the parries can just boost your ego, not recover it. In the second phase, it's total bullet hell though. Whatever element of manageability there was to be found in the previous phase, kiss it goodbye, because attacks fly in from every which way, launching giant stomping TVs, machine guns, and the entire starting lineup of the Pizzascape baseball team. That's on top of the boss you just beat coming back in to drop even more gears on your head with no room for error and no invincibility frames just like the first fight since you had the gun there and the bombs here and I remember now, I let Snotty live this time. Pizza Head as well is crazy durable. It takes a lot of bombs to take out even a single piece of his life bar. Mix that with how crazy his attack patterns are, and how fast they become by his last bits of health, and he's the most stressful phase of the fight by far. That said, being able to duck and dodge between it all feels great. And best of all, no revolver! Although last time Noise had a gun, it did take out the boss in one shot. And of course, once Pizza Head goes down, it's only the start of things. Here's where things start to get a little different. You refight all the bosses again, But just by the opening notes of Unexpectancy Part 3, you can tell things are different. Noise isn't fighting out of desperation, nah, he's just cutting loose and having fun, hucking bombs with reckless abandon. Look how thoroughly unimpressed he is by Pizza Head's lineup. I doubt he's even doing this out of necessity, just to get it over with quicker because it's boring him. Noise's remix of Unexpectancy is an absolutely great tune. Though just for how different it is, I gotta give the point to the original. Again, just like the two characters themselves, it's insanely close. But there really is nothing that can beat hearing Unexpectancy Part 3 for the first time. As for the bosses themselves, it takes no time to blow through them. Though it does force you to actually see some of Vigilante's moves, which I was none too happy about. But at least they kept the Doys dead. Stay dead. And when the final clash with Pizza Head begins... Seriously, is it meant to be this easy? I know they don't want to steal wins from people who just went through 6 boss battles, but all these attacks are so basic, I can't rationalize this being the game's final challenge. But that's made up for as Unexpectancy gives way to an invading force made up of the Noise's own motif, giving him full control over the fight. Having Peppino's theme be a back-and-forth struggle between Unexpectancy and his own music was a great touch, but having Noise's version be a full-on explosion, completely taken over by his own track, works even better, because I think it exemplifies the difference between these two fights. Once you go for the big finale, Pizza Head for the first time ever loses his smile. Because if Doys is anything to go off of, he's just realizing that Noise isn't playing his game, but he's playing for keeps. Pizza Head is no more, and there's only one thing left to do, and that's pack our stuff and get out of Dodge before the cops come. As much fun as getting into a building collapse sounds, I just checked the time. My favorite show's gonna be on. I gotta get out of here. Crumbling Tower is yet again an absolute blast and a love letter to the game you're currently running away from, bringing back nearly every gimmick for one last go-around with all the noisy twists you've come to expect. The best part has gotta be how instead of collecting the bosses and other hub area characters like Mort and Snotty, Noise instead just tosses them aside and keeps the only things that matter to him, his girl, a freshly hatched homunculus, and something to throw at Peppino in case he sees him on the way out. Would have been nice to pick up a Noise Goblin too, but what are you gonna do? All of this is set to a great replacement for Bye Bye There called I Need a Noise, a track I'm glad comes last because it means I can finally stop saying every new song is one of the best songs in the game. I do mean it every time, it's just hard to not sound like I'm lying about it. Of course, P-ranking this monstrosity is a real challenge, considering it's really hard to keep track of what could possibly come next, but it only takes a few run-throughs to ace it. And once again, you've done it. You've aced the entire game, smashed the tower, and even got a new sidekick for your next great adventure, which you can read all about in the homicide section of the upcoming newspaper. The Noise update takes a game I already considered the standard bearer for indie games and made a new standard for indie game expansions. Not since games like Shovel Knight have I seen an indie game truly expand on its base gameplay with a new character like this one did. Given how long Silksong is taking, I don't think we're ever gonna see another one like it, but jokes aside, perfecting the game alongside such an amazing update has been such a great experience. And if this is the swan song for such a fantastic game, it couldn't have ended on a better note. And that's how I defeated Pizza Face, destroyed the tower, saved my pizzeria, and saved the day, with my friends Gustavo and Brick! Get out of my house! Lefishy 5845, Agent Bacon 8709, Ragequit 4777, Quinto 007, Beanie Wearing Bastard 3125, Bagodidi, Jamuzu the Strange Bear, Flacco 3462, Firelord 6554, Bean King, Lord of the Beans, Super Mudkips, Ty Gamer 7956, CoolGames6452. User NP8RL8XJ9D. VideoCentral-BH9TF. Ted Generic Guy. Dr. Tuxedo 7532. Undead Reborn 4867. Skittle Lord Switch 4731. Dynamo 1251. Get Riddled 378. FODV 93. Deburu Tori. You Will See Something. Be Playful Eye. Zordon. Cursed Eye VR. Mona-by 8QQ. Duncan Hill Lake 8024. Sunzilla Mario Craft. The Game Guy 2482. Something, maybe. That Guy 24523. User-OL8H05Q07Q. Saint Zeitzer 287. Kazalord of Light Warrior. Chorizo Chomper 7520. Tiramisu TTXD. Shay Gordon 6592. D Phantom 6456. Hero Art 110. Witherstorm KX9LJ. Kaio's Art and Stuff IDK. And King Video Games. If you're wondering what that list was, that was a list of every person who has ever said that I could not P-rank Pizza Tower in its entirety, or that I was a coward for not attempting. As you can see now, I have not just beaten Pizza Tower, I have gotten the best rank possible in Pizza Tower, which is to beat it with above 95% completion in under 4 hours. To every person I just named, all I have to say is, who's laughing now?